So, the gold bug often says that the US dollar isn't backed by anything. Well, that is incorrect. It is backed by oil, and that deal is starting to crack. Basically, in the 1970s, US told Saudi Arabia, hey, if you want to sell oil, you can only do so by pricing it in US dollar. Now, obviously, oil is arguably the most important commodity in the whole world. It powers the huge parts of our world's economy, and by pricing it in the US dollar, it creates a perpetual demand from global investors from all countries in the world to buy the US dollar because they need to buy oil. This massive demand for the USD worldwide enables the US to do one thing that other countries cannot. They can basically print their money, they can borrow trillions at low interest rates, they can run a deficit without going into collapse. These are the privileges that the US have, that if you're in an emerging markets and you're trying to do this, basically you would see your currencies go through the roof and your countries would collapse. What people often miss is not just about pricing the oil in US dollar, but also the profits from those sales. The majority of these Gulf countries that are selling oil in USD have to put those profits into work. So they can either do this by buying US T-bills, but they have also been powering the large majority of risk on capital in the past 2 decades. If you just check back all of the venture capital funding, all of the Wall Street funding, real estate funding, a lot of those funds actually came from the Middle East. The same petrodollars are now flowing into Silicon Valley. You can see all of this with the recent AI funding news. Now, where it gets fragile is with the ongoing Iran war tension. This conflict destabilizes the entire Gulf nation, which provides this perpetual money machine and buying demand for the US dollar. Moreover, if they start pricing oil in other currencies such as the Chinese yuan, which is what the BRICS countries have been trying to do, the BRICS countries, China, are trying to transact with one another with their own native currencies instead of relying on the US dollar. If the reflexivity of oil actually reverses because they're now going to use currencies other than the US dollar, it might create a really big trouble for the US in the long run. So the petrodollar system isn't just an oil deal. It is the funding mechanism behind the majority of American capitalism, Wall Street, Silicon Valley, and so on. And right now, more than ever, that funding mechanism is being stress tested, perhaps in one of the worst stress tests in the past 50 years.